You have all used AI to help you write something. A draft email. A summary. Maybe an essay introduction you then deleted. Most of you have also read something written by AI without knowing it was. That is the world we are in. And it raises a question that sounds simple but is not. If AI can produce writing that is grammatically correct, contextually appropriate, well-structured, and even persuasive, what is left for you to do? This session is about that question. Not in the abstract. Concretely. We are going to look at what AI can and cannot write. We are going to practice writing without it. And we are going to examine what happens in professional relationships when we outsource the communication that holds those relationships together. Writing with voice and intent. Notice the word intent. Not just voice. Intent matters because writing without it is decoration. The question this session asks is not can you produce words? AI does that. The question is, can you produce words that carry something AI cannot carry? For things you should be able to do by the end of this session. First, articulate what makes communication irreducibly human in a world where AI can produce text that looks identical on the surface. Second, produce writing that demonstrates authentic voice, perspective, and accountability. Not polish. Not fluency. Those are table stakes. We are after something harder to produce and harder to replicate. Third, practice writing without AI assistance, not as a punishment or an exercise in nostalgia, but as a deliberate professional discipline. Because the writers who matter will be those who can turn the tool off and still have something to say. Fourth, begin developing a personal writing practice that cannot be replicated without losing the point. Something that is yours. Let me ask you 4 questions about the pieces you read. First, what specific words, phrases, or moments felt distinctly human? Not, it felt warmer. I want the specific line, the exact word, the moment where you felt a person behind the text. Second, did the AI piece feel off in some way? Not just different. Off. Like something was missing that you expected to find. What was that? Third, here is a practical question. If you had to act on one of these pieces, which would you choose? And would your answer change depending on what the action was? Fourth, and this one is important. What does the AI piece do well that the human piece does not? Because AI writing is not worse in every dimension. In some dimensions it is better. Be honest about that. Here is the distinction that underlies everything in this session. Communication that informs delivers accurate, structured content. It is contextually appropriate, clearly formatted, and comprehensive. AI is highly capable of this today. As world models develop, it will become even better. And the value it delivers is real, efficiency and coverage. You can produce more of it, faster, at lower cost. But notice what the right-hand column says about replaceability. Communication that informs is replaceable at scale, once quality is sufficient. That threshold is approaching for most professional writing categories. Not immediately. But the trajectory is clear. Communication that moves is different. It carries perspective, stakes, and genuine presence. The writer stands behind it and is accountable for it. It requires genuine investment in the outcome. And it cannot be replicated without losing precisely what makes it matter. The value is trust, persuasion, and relationship. And the reason it is not replaceable is not that AI lacks the technical capability to imitate it. It is that authenticity is a property of the author, not the text. You cannot outsource your accountability. Let's talk this key term. Voice. The signal in writing that a specific human, with a specific perspective and specific stakes, is accountable for what you are reading. Read that again carefully. Not a style. not a tone. A signal. Voice is informational. When a piece has genuine voice, you know who stands behind it. You know that if you act on it and something goes wrong, there is a person who will own that. That knowledge changes how you receive communication. It changes how much weight you give it. It changes whether you trust it enough to act on it. Voice is not about sounding distinctive or interesting. It is about being accountable. And that is why AI cannot produce it. Not because it cannot produce text that sounds like a person. It can. But there is no person accountable for what it produces. The accountability signal is absent. AI can produce text that is grammatically correct, contextually appropriate, well-structured, and even persuasive. Most of you have read it and not known. What it cannot produce is communication that is accountable. When a human writes something, they stand behind it. The words carry the weight of their judgment, their perspective, and their willingness to own the consequences. That weight is not decorative. IT is the thing that makes the writing worth reading in the context of a professional relationship. AI can inform. It cannot be accountable. And in professional and personal relationships, accountability is not an added feature. It is the whole point. Now we are going to do the thing instead of talking about it. 300 words on a professional topic you genuinely care about. Not one you think sounds good for a university assignment. One you actually care about. The constraint is this. Write something that AI could not write on your behalf without losing the thing that makes it worth reading. That means it needs your perspective, your stakes, your accountability. It is not assessed on quality. It is assessed on presence. Whether there is a human in the writing or not. You can pause the video to try this. You should be done in 20 minutes. Paper or screen, but no AI assistance. One more thing. If you feel stuck, that discomfort is the learning. Write through it. The feeling of not knowing what to say when AI is not available is data. Pay attention to it. Now, if you have the opportunity to do this exercise with someone else, exchange your piece with them. You have 4 questions to answer about what you have read. These are not gentle questions. First, where did you feel the writer's presence? Not this was good. Where specifically did you sense a real person with a real perspective behind the words? Second, where did the voice disappear? Every piece has moments where the writer retreats into safe, generic language. Find them. Third, what would you change, and why? Not to improve the writing in a technical sense. To make the presence stronger. Fourth, and this is the one that ties back to the whole session. What would AI have written differently here? And is the human version better or worse? Be honest. Sometimes the AI version would be better. What does that tell you? Be specific. I liked it. Is not feedback. This sentence felt like you, this one felt like anyone is feedback. Let me ask you 4 questions about what we just covered. What was harder about writing without AI than you expected? I want specifics. Not it was harder to be creative. What specific moment made you reach for the tool that was not there? What was easier? Because some things are. There are dimensions of writing where removing the AI clarified something rather than made it harder. Did you produce something AI could not have written? Not just something AI would not have written. Something it could not have written. What makes you think so? And the harder version of that question. Is there a version of this task where AI help would improve rather than replace your contribution? Where the collaboration makes the writing more you, not less? Let me put what we have covered in the context of where AI is heading. Now, in the current era of large language models, AI-generated writing is often surface indistinguishable from human writing at the level of grammar and structure. The human advantage right now lies in voice, perspective, and accountability. These are not style preferences. Hey are trust signals. And they are what this session has been practicing. Next, as world models develop, surface indistinguishability will increase further. AI will get better at simulating voice, perspective, and even emotional presence. Writing that AI merely cannot imitate will become a shrinking category. But here is the shift that matters. The durable advantage is not writing that AI cannot imitate. It is writing that matters because a specific accountable human produced it. Authenticity is a property of the author, not the text. What that means in practice. The question to ask about any piece of professional writing is not could AI have produced this? It is does it matter who produced this? If the answer is yes, the human advantage is intact, regardless of how good AI gets at imitation. The key takeaway from Session 1. Voice is not a stylistic flourish. It is the signal that a specific human, with a specific perspective and specific stakes, is accountable for what you are reading. Take that into every piece of professional writing you do from this point on. Ask yourself, is my accountability visible in this? If it is not, the writing is not finished. Session 2 takes this further. Writing is one dimension of human communication. There is another dimension that is equally important and perhaps more immediately at risk from AI. Relational intelligence. The ability to navigate professional relationships in real time, with genuine presence. That is where we are going next. Session 2. Relational Intelligence and Negotiation. In Session 1 we looked at the written dimension of human communication. What makes writing irreducibly yours? This session looks at the live dimension. The conversations that happen in real time, under pressure, where the relationship is as important as the outcome. We will examine what relational intelligence actually is. Why AI can simulate it but cannot inhabit it. And then we are going to practice. Not in theory. In a negotiation simulation with real stakes. There are 4 objectives for this session. First, understand the dimensions of relational intelligence that remain distinctly human. Not all of them do. Some can be approximated. The important thing is knowing which are which. Second, practice high-stakes communication in a simulated negotiation context. The simulation is not comfortable by design. Third, articulate the limits of AI's role in relationship-dependent professional work. Because when clients or employers ask you why they need a human professional in this role, you need a specific, honest answer. Fourth, receive and begin planning your capstone governance brief. We will talk about it at the end of this session. What actually is relational intelligence? Let me give you 5 dimensions. Reading the room. Sensing the emotional and political temperature of a conversation without being told. Knowing that someone is uncomfortable before they say so. Knowing that a negotiation is going well even when the words are neutral. This is a real-time perceptual capability that operates below the level of explicit language. Microsignals. Noticing what is not being said. The hesitation before an answer. The deflection that means discomfort, not disagreement. The too quick agreement that means someone has shut down rather than genuinely agreed. AI can process the words. It cannot notice the gap where a word should have been. Genuine presence. Not executing a script, not running an optimization. Actually being there, actually invested in how this goes. The other person can tell the difference. You have all been in conversations with someone who was somewhere else. You know what it feels like from the receiving end. Empathy. And I mean genuine empathy, not pattern matching on emotional cues. Actually caring about the other party's position and what it would mean for them. Not as a strategy. As a real orientation toward another person. Skin in the game. The credibility that comes from real stakes. You will be affected by how this goes. That fact, known to both parties, changes the conversation in a way that no script can replicate. Here is the claim I want to make, and I want you to think critically about it. A party to a relationship who has nothing at risk and no genuine investment in the outcome is not a relational partner. They are a simulation of one. AI can produce language that sounds empathetic. It can pattern match on emotional cues and respond in ways that seem attuned. It can simulate the surface of relational intelligence with increasing sophistication. But the value of relational intelligence is not just the capability. It is the accountability. The other person in a negotiation knows that you will be affected by how this goes. That knowledge changes what they share with you, how much they trust you, and whether the relationship survives the conversation. Remove the stakes, and you remove the thing that makes the relationship real. That is the limit AI runs up against. Not capability. Stakes. Let me make this concrete. A negotiator used AI scripted talking points for a vendor negotiation. The AI identified the likely concession point and scripted the exact wording to reach it efficiently. The negotiation succeeded on price. Objectively, a good outcome. But the vendor felt processed rather than partnered. They felt that the conversation was a transaction, not a relationship. Follow-on contract discussions stalled. The relationship that would have generated ongoing value was damaged by the efficiency of the first interaction. The lesson here is precise. Relational intelligence is not just about the immediate outcome. It is about the texture of the relationship that outlasts any single conversation. An AI can optimize for the outcome. It cannot care about the relationship. And the other party can tell. Let's take a look at the scenario for today's simulation. One side is a healthcare technology company seeking patient data for AI model training. The other side is a hospital data governance lead with concerns about privacy, anonymization, and the commercial use of data generated by a public healthcare system. The tension is real. Commercial interest versus public trust versus genuine patient benefit versus data sovereignty. These are not positions that can be resolved by finding a clever framing. They require a genuine negotiation. We will do this in 2 rounds. In round 1, you use the AI scripted talking points provided. Follow the script as closely as you can. In round 2, you conduct the same negotiation as yourself, with no script. We will debrief both rounds together afterwards. What changed? What could you do in round 2 that you could not do in round 1? Let me ask you 4 questions about those 2 rounds. First, what specific moment in round 2 felt genuinely different from round 1? Not just it felt more natural. A specific moment, a specific exchange, where something happened that the script had not anticipated. Second, did you make any decisions in round 2 that the script would not have made? And here is the harder version of that question. Were they better or worse? Be honest. Sometimes the script is right. Third, what would a world model AI with sophisticated theory of mind do differently from the script you had in round 1? As AI develops better models of other agents, better real-time inference about emotional states and intentions, how much of what you did in round 2 does it replicate? Fourth, is authenticity a durable human advantage or a temporary one? I want you to argue both sides. The same now/next frame applied to relational intelligence. Now, AI cannot navigate relationship dynamics with genuine presence or accountability. In high-stakes professional relationships, this is a clear human advantage. The negotiation you just ran illustrates why. The moment in round 2 where you adapted, read the room, or shared something the script would not have allowed is the moment AI currently cannot reach. Next, world models with sophisticated models of other agents will narrow this gap significantly. Better theory of mind. Better real-time inference about emotional states and intentions. Better simulation of the relational texture of a conversation. But here is the argument I want you to hold on to. The durable human advantage is not relational capability. It is that humans are genuinely accountable for the relationships they hold. That property does not transfer. You cannot assign your accountability to a model. And the other party to a relationship knows, even if they cannot articulate it, whether there is genuine accountability on the other side of the table. This is the key takeaway from this session. Relational intelligence is presence plus accountability. Both are irreducibly human, not because AI lacks the capability, but because relationships require genuine stakes. You have to have something to lose for the relationship to be real. In the next session, we move to governance and accountability. The structural challenge of keeping humans accountable as AI takes on more. We will look at what governance frameworks are trying to preserve, where they are failing, and what the personal accountability of a professional looks like in an AI-augmented organization.